Most traders don't realize this, but strategy switching is one of the biggest things holding them back from ever becoming consistent. And I'm not talking about switching once or twice. I'm talking about that constant loop where you're always chasing something new. A new indicator, a new strategy, a new time frame, a new mentor, a new secret that's supposed to fix everything. If you've ever looked back at your trading journey and thought, damn, I've tried like 12 different approaches, then this video is for you. Because every trader goes through it. I went through it. The people in my community went through it. Even my mentor went through it before he became profitable. And the crazy thing is, when you're switching strategies all the time, it feels logical. It feels like progress. You tell yourself, maybe this new strategy will finally work. Maybe this indicator will give me clearer entries. Maybe this educator has the real secrets. Maybe I just need to trade like this other guy. But the truth is, you're not switching because your strategy is bad. You're switching because you're uncomfortable. The strategy isn't the real problem. Your psychology is. I want to walk you through the psychology behind why traders switch strategies so often, because once you understand that, everything starts to make sense. And I want to tell you stories from traders I've worked with, people who were stuck in that loop for months or even years, until they finally figured out what was actually going on. And I want to tell you what my mentor told me, back when I was doing the exact same thing, chasing strategy after strategy, thinking the next one was going to save me. So let's get into it. One of the first people I ever saw struggle with strategy switching was a guy named Marcus. Good dude, smart, excited about trading. When he joined my community, he had already tried about 6 different approaches: price action, indicators, reversals, support/resistance, a moving average crossover strategy, even some ICT concepts. Every time he started something new, he would say the same thing: I think this is the one. Then 2 weeks later, bro, I don't think this works in today's market. I think I need something more accurate. This strategy is good, but I think I found something better. He said it with confidence, too. Like he genuinely believed he was leveling up. He wasn't. He was simply uncomfortable with losing. And here's what I told him one day. You don't need a better strategy. You just need to master one strategy. But you keep leaving before mastery happens. And I want you to hear that too, because it's probably true for you. You're not switching because the strategy is bad. You're switching because the strategy requires emotional control you haven't developed yet. If you really think about it, every strategy produces losses. Every strategy has drawdowns, every strategy has bad weeks. And when you're new, those moments feel like the strategy is failing you, when really it's you failing the process. Let me tell you another story. This one is personal. There was a point early in my trading journey where I was switching strategies like crazy. I'd lose 2 trades and instantly think something was wrong with my approach. I'd get frustrated, feel anxious, feel like the market was against me, and so I'd go searching for a brand new strategy that made me feel safe again. It was like an addiction. I wasn't addicted to winning. I was addicted to avoiding discomfort. One day, my mentor asked me something so simple, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. Why do you think the next strategy will fix your emotions? Your emotions follow you no matter what you trade. That one sentence made me stop in my tracks. Because I was doing exactly what many new traders do, looking for a strategy that eliminates discomfort. But discomfort is part of trading. Uncertainty is part of trading. Losses are part of trading. There is no strategy that removes those things. And until you accept that, you'll keep switching forever. Another trader in my community. Her name was Alina. She struggled with this for almost a year. She was obsessed with finding the perfect entry. Her definition of perfect was no losers. Every time she took 2 losing trades in a week, she'd freak out. She'd message me saying, I think I need something that doesn't get faked out as much. I think I need a different confirmation. I think I need a higher win rate strategy. And I kept telling her, no strategy wins all the time. Stop trying to outsmart reality. But she couldn't hear it. She wanted the pain to stop, so she kept switching. One day she reached a breaking point after she backtested a strategy that had a 62% win rate and made insane returns over the year. She was excited. This is finally the one, she said. Then she traded it live. Day 1, she took a loser. Day 2, another loser. Day 3, she skipped a valid setup out of fear. Day 4, she hesitated and entered late. Day 5, she gave up on the strategy entirely. 5 days, and she gave up after 5 days. I had to tell her bluntly, you're not looking for a strategy, you're looking for emotional certainty, and that doesn't exist anywhere. When I said that, she paused, and I could tell it finally clicked for her. Because you need to understand this. The reason you keep switching strategies is not because of the strategies themselves. It's because of the emotions you feel when the strategy isn't performing perfectly. You switch because losses scare you. Waiting for setups bores you. Choppy markets shake your confidence. Other people's wins make you impatient. You feel like you're falling behind. You want progress to happen faster, and so you switch strategies hoping the new one will remove the emotions you don't want to feel. But emotions in trading are unavoidable. Here's something my mentor told me, and I swear this is one of the most important things any trader will ever hear. You don't rise to the level of your strategy, you fall to the level of your emotional discipline. That right there is why traders switch constantly. You think the market is telling you your strategy is wrong when really your emotions are telling you your discomfort is wrong. There was another guy. His name was Tyler. Tyler was one of the most talented analysts I'd ever met. He could read price action better than half the educators online. But he had zero patience, zero emotional control. He'd learn a strategy, trade it for 2 days, take one loss, and then immediately start researching a new method. I remember him saying, "Bro, I know how to trade. I just can't find a strategy that fits my personality." And I told him, "No, you just haven't stayed with any strategy long enough for it to fit your personality." He laughed, but he knew I was right. Because here's the truth. Your strategy doesn't have a personality. You create the personality through consistency, repetition, and understanding. Every strategy sucks until you master it. Every approach feels confusing until it becomes familiar. Every system feels inconsistent until you become consistent. Switching strategies keeps you in beginner mode forever. One day, after Tyler switched strategies for like the 12th time, he messaged me saying, "I think trading is just too random. Maybe I need something with better predictions." And I said, "The problem isn't predictions, it's your expectations. You want guarantees, not probabilities." That was the day he finally slowed down. He picked one method, literally the simplest version of price action he'd ever learned, and committed to it for 3 straight months. Guess what happened? Month 1, he was still shaky. Month 2, he started seeing patterns. Month 3, he became consistent. Not because the strategy was magical, but because his mind finally stopped running in circles. Let me tell you another personal moment, one that still makes me shake my head. There was a period where I tried so many different strategies that I genuinely forgot what my plan even was. One day I caught myself mid-trade realizing, I don't even know why I'm entering. This is like a Frankenstein strategy. A piece from YouTube, a piece from some indicator, a piece from some educator's price action video, a piece from a random Reddit post. It was chaos. No wonder my results were chaotic. My mentor once told me something I'll never forget. Confusion comes from having too many voices in your head. Strategy switching isn't indecision, it's noise. When he said that, it was painfully true, because every strategy switch comes from external noise, someone's profit screenshot, someone's flashy win, someone bragging about a new indicator, someone showing a perfect backtest, someone making it look easy, and you start thinking, damn, maybe my way is the slow way. Maybe I'm missing out. Maybe they know something I don't. So you switch. But here's something you need to understand. The more strategies you try, the harder it becomes to master any of them. Mastery requires repetition. Repetition requires consistency. Consistency requires sticking to one approach long enough to understand it deeply. Every time you switch strategies, you reset your progress to zero. Another trader, his name was Victor, had this exact problem. He was obsessed with finding the best strategy based purely on win rate. If someone told him a method had a 70% win rate, he'd drop everything he was doing and run toward it. But win rate isn't everything. Drawdown matters, context matters, psychology matters, execution matters. Victor would trade a strategy with a high win rate, but he'd sabotage it emotionally. He'd skip losing trades so the stats on paper didn't feel real, then take only winners and think he was doing great. Then when he finally took a real loss, he'd freak out and switch again. I asked him one day, "What win rate are you looking for?" He thought about it and said, "Something like 85% would be perfect." And I laughed. Not to be mean, but because it told me exactly what was happening. He wasn't searching for a strategy. He was searching for safety. He was searching for the absence of pain. Strategy switching is a coping mechanism. It helps you avoid facing impatience, fear, self doubt, poor discipline, emotional discomfort. So you run to the next strategy hoping the next one won't hurt you. But here's the truth: every strategy brings discomfort. Every strategy brings losses. Every strategy requires discipline. Every strategy has drawdown. Every strategy tests your patience. There is no method that avoids those things. My mentor once said, "You don't stop switching strategies by finding the right strategy. You stop switching by becoming the right trader." That quote changed everything for me because I realized that the reason I kept switching wasn't strategy failure, it was emotional failure. I wasn't consistent because I didn't have the patience to let any strategy develop. I wasn't confident because I didn't trust anything long enough to see its true behavior. Honestly, I wasn't improving because I kept abandoning the learning process. Let me tell you another story. This one is from a woman named Serena. Serena was honestly one of the most disciplined people I'd ever met outside of trading. Gym every day, meal prep, early mornings, organized life. But when it came to trading, strategy hopping was her worst enemy, and I asked her why she kept switching. She looked at me and said, "I don't trust myself. So when the strategy loses, I assume I messed up and I look for something safer." And that hit me, because most traders who switch strategies constantly don't have a strategy problem. They have a trust problem. They don't trust themselves, they don't trust their discipline, and they don't trust their ability to execute consistently. So they put all their hope into the next strategy instead of putting their effort into mastering this one. Serena eventually committed to a single plan for 90 days. And guess what? She didn't become perfect, but she became consistent. Not because the strategy was amazing, but because she finally gave herself room to grow. That's what you need too. Here's something else you need to hear. You switch strategies because you don't have enough data. If you've never tested a strategy for 100 trades, if you've never tracked it through good weeks and bad weeks, if you've never seen its behavior in slow markets and fast markets, if you've never observed its drawdowns and recoveries, then of course you won't trust it. Imagine meeting a stranger and trying to build trust in 1 week. You wouldn't. It takes time. It takes consistency. It takes repetition. Strategy mastery is the same way. Another guy, let's call him Jamal. He went through this recently. He'd take like 10 trades with a new strategy, and if he didn't like the results, he'd switch immediately. 10 trades. You can flip a coin 10 times and still get heads 8 times. That doesn't mean the coin is broken. It means you haven't collected enough data. I told Jamal, you don't know anything until you have at least 50 trades, and you don't know a strategy until you have 100. He finally did it. He tracked 100 trades with a single approach, and guess what? The strategy wasn't perfect, but his execution improved dramatically because he finally had clarity. Clarity doesn't come from switching, it comes from commitment. My mentor once said something I want you to remember. You don't need the best strategy. You need a strategy you understand deeply. Because when you understand something deeply, you stop panicking when it loses, you stop overreacting, you stop questioning everything, you stop feeling like you're doing something wrong, you start trusting the process, you start seeing the bigger picture, you start responding with logic instead of emotion. And that is when trading starts to shift. Let me tell you another personal story, one that still sticks with me. There was a time when I was learning a strategy that had a low win rate, but incredible risk to reward. It was profitable mathematically, but the losses felt brutal emotionally. I'd take 5 losses in a row sometimes, and I'd start doubting everything. The chart would look completely different after a losing streak. I'd start convincing myself, this doesn't work anymore. The market has changed. I think this strategy is outdated. But none of that was true, and I was just uncomfortable with discomfort. My mentor gave me some of the most important advice I'd ever received. You're not allowed to judge a strategy during a losing streak. Judge it over a sample size, not a bad day. That one sentence saved me from switching again. Another practical reason traders switch strategies is boredom. This one surprised me when I first noticed it, but it's true. Some traders don't switch because they're losing. They switch because the strategy feels too slow. There was a young guy in my community, Elijah. Super smart, quick thinker, always excited. But he hated waiting. If the strategy told him to wait for one clean setup a day, he couldn't do it. He'd get bored, start watching YouTube videos about other strategies, see someone catching 15 trades a day, and instantly start switching. I told him, Boredom is a trading killer. If you can't sit still, no strategy will save you. Because the market doesn't reward excitement, it rewards patience. Strategy switching often has nothing to do with performance, and it's about filling emotional gaps. You're bored, you're impatient, you want action, you want dopamine, you want constant validation. And switching strategies gives you that feeling for a moment, but it never leads to long-term success. There's also the comparison trap. This is huge. You'll see someone else post a massive win with a completely different strategy and instantly feel like your strategy is inferior. There was a girl in my Discord, Claire, and she had this problem badly. She'd be trading something she liked, then see someone post, caught 250 pips, or sniped the entire move today, and immediately she'd switch strategies. Not because she didn't like hers, but because she felt like she wasn't doing enough. I told her, you don't know what that person went through emotionally to catch that trade. You only see the final result, not the journey. And that's the problem. Social media makes it seem like everyone is winning with strategies you're not using, so you chase them, and you keep chasing them, and you never settle long enough to grow roots. My mentor had a perfect analogy for this. Switching strategies is like planting a seed, watering it for 1 week, and then digging it up because it didn't grow fast enough. That's what most traders do. They plant a seed, they get excited, they water it, they wait a few days. Then they panic, dig it up, and go plant a new one somewhere else. And guess what? Nothing ever grows. The truth is, if you want to stop switching strategies, you need 3 things. You need acceptance, you need discipline, and you need commitment. Acceptance means understanding that losses are part of trading. Strategy switching happens because you don't accept losses. You fight them. You think a better strategy will reduce or eliminate them, but every strategy loses. Discipline means sticking to the plan long enough to actually learn it. If you bail after every losing day, you'll never see consistency. Discipline is staying calm through the discomfort. Commitment means choosing one approach and giving it real time to develop. Not 1 week, not 1 dozen trades, not one good or bad day, but real long-term commitment, enough to build understanding. Let me tell you one final story. This one is about a guy named Sam. Sam was honestly one of the most frustrated traders I'd ever met. He'd been trading for almost 2 years and made zero progress. Every month he was starting over. One day he told me, I'm doing everything right. I just can't find a strategy that works. And I asked him, how many strategies have you tried in the past 2 years? He paused, thought about it, and said, probably 20. And I said, no wonder. You're not failing trading. You're failing commitment. That moment changed him. He chose one approach, literally just support, shosh, resistance, and structure, and stuck with it for 90 days. The first month was rough. The second month was better. The third month, he was more consistent than he'd ever been. Not because the strategy was special, not because the market changed, not because he was lucky, but because for the first time ever, he wasn't running anymore. Here's something my mentor told me near the beginning of my journey that finally made everything click. You master trading when you stop searching outward and start building inward. The strategy isn't the problem. The market isn't the problem. The educator isn't the problem. Your indicators aren't the problem. Your emotional discomfort is the problem. Your impatience is the problem. Your expectations are the problem. Your refusal to embrace uncertainty is the problem. And once you fix those things, something incredible happens. You stop needing new strategies. You start mastering the one you already have. You stop reacting emotionally, you stop chasing dopamine. You stop comparing yourself to others. You start trusting the process. You start seeing patterns clearly. You start understanding risk better. You start managing losses calmly. You become the kind of trader who doesn't switch anymore. So if you've been switching strategies constantly, if you've been searching for that magical method, if you've been thinking maybe this is the one, just know this. You don't need the perfect strategy. You need to become the trader who can handle any strategy, and that's when trading finally starts to feel like something you can master. This is TradersMindTV, and the journey starts within.